But yeah, man.
Sorry, I cut you off like
no,
5 times.
No, dude. No, the thing about this is I don't have a rhyme or reason for this whole thing.
Cool, I love
There's no... Like, it's just got to set a camera up and, get the, just do it in something cool.
I do love the backdrop.
The mics are already here. Like, they do this here. I told you they do a podcast
yeah.
here. So, they started this and, they're gracious enough to let me use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I kind of just use these to know about people, and I didn't do anything. Like I didn't look up anything about you.
Good.
I know you worked.
It's
I know
not much to find.
Well, you do cool stuff. I mean, doing music in Nashville sweet when you can move. Like you're doing a bunch of different types of stuff.
Yeah, I am.
But also too, I'm always interested in hearing about what fatherhood's like, or like what,
sure.
or like just that sort of life of like doing like what you like doing, and being a father, and doing the extra like curricular hobbies and all that, like just in your life and in the family life. But
yeah.
I guess where are you from originally?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I am from Miami, Florida. So I was born in a hospital called Jackson Memorial, which is like in the fucking Miami. And then I grew up in a little area called Little Havana, and then we moved from there to I guess essentially like a suburb when I was older called Pembroke Pines, and then after I got married, I moved out to Hollywood, which is. I mean, all of South Florida is essentially by the beach, but it's not far from like North Miami Beach and very close to Fort Lauderdale for a sense of perspective or whatever. But yeah, no, I'm from Miami.
Yeah.
Like
You're a Florida boy.
Yeah, I'm a Florida boy for sure. Yeah. What's funny is like I had a session today actually with a friend who is Guyanese, which is like Guyana is right next to Venezuela, and he's like, "What's wrong with you, man? Because I get hot." Like, I don't like being hot at all. I'm literally about to take my hoodie off right now. Okay. So you're using Ableton, by the way.
I'm using it as backup audio. So
dude, Ableton is goated.
Oh, it's my favorite. It was the only one I could get pirated for Mac back in the day, and like just was like easy run. Ableton 9 shout out.
Yeah, dude. I started on Live Light, I think 4.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're in the mix.
Yeah, I was on Ableton for a long time.
What year was Live White for?
Oh,
or ballpark it?
Oh man, maybe 2012 or 2011. I think maybe like 2011. Because I started production in GarageBand, just like using the loops and everything, and I was like, man, this is cool. And then I had a buddy who was like, you should mess with automation. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you can do a thing and the audio will move from the left speaker to the right speaker. I was like, what? And then, wait, you can make it quieter and then make it louder. And then I really started like foregoing all my friendships and all of the social things and like just making these really terrible songs in GarageBand. And when I started to run into limitations, a friend who was essentially a mentor at the time was like, man, you should really look at Ableton. It's dope. Like it'll do all that stuff and then some. And so he gave me a license for 4 Lite, and he's like, do me a favor, do all the lessons. Don't ask me a question till you're done. Because he was an educator at the time, and he used to teach it. And I understood even quickly after of like, that's kind of the beauty of that DAW. Like, unlike Tools, which I know how to use, I'm not experienced with Logic, but even GarageBand, like at least at the time, I don't know GarageBand now. Maybe they improved the onboarding process, but like the learning curve for Ableton is very steep. But their lessons that they have built in are so intuitive, and it's so well explained. And the window that like walks you through the session and shows you what to. I mean, it was like, I would be dumb to not learn this. They've made it so easy, And then that was just kind of it for me.
Dude, the Ableton, like, because it's the only one I've seen with like a course, like with dedicated courses or like Ableton educators. Like, I don't see. I mean, I bet Reason would probably had it because it's like, actual, like, damn near audio plug. I bet they would probably have something with that. Don't see it a lot for Logic because I think Logic is more of like, I think it's the universal one for, people trying to do, kind of their own thing. Right? Maybe not universal, but like if they want to like be an artist right now.
Right.
But
interesting.
I remember because, I had friends in Chicago, and they were like having, Ableton classes. And like, like deep within them is like, teaching about automation or like, teaching about like, collision or something, which like doing stuff about it. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Ableton, they've always kind of had to like the job that I worked at I worked at a church, and I did like some Ableton stuff when I was there, and there was very much like you could become an Ableton, like a certified Ableton Live trainer. That was like a thing,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure it still is.
Yeah, for sure.
Which would be, I'm sure the learning curve is bonkers now because it can just do so much. But I don't remember like, and maybe this is just where my ignorance comes to play, but I've never known another DAW to have that kind of educational like rub with their software, or
In
it's
like
like
an educational department.
yeah. Like they're like proselytizing and educating at the same time as like creating something that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Usually it's like you make something dope and then other third parties will come and do that, and obviously it's other people, but they're the ones who can facilitate like, yo, if you want to learn from someone who's legit, we put our stamp of approval on this person because we trained them, which is kind of like, that's pretty sick.
And as Ableton, like as a DAW, it's pretty, that stamp means something. Just
Right.
because that's sort of like, it's like a cult damn near. Like my friend in Chicago got the Ableton thing tatted on him.
Really?
Oh yeah, freshman year,
Wow.
just because Ableton was so good to him, and he produced so much shit. And I was
Every
like,
time he gets really mad, he's just like, oh, you're good to me.
"God, you son."
I mean, I was in a session today with a buddy who's just like a fucking samurai. Shout out to Rob Prasad. And I learned something new. Like, it just never ends. There's always something like sick. Another buddy sent me a reel where it's like in a MIDI clip, like with the piano roll exposed, you play something like on a whatever, controller, MPC, doesn't matter. You play it and you press the right arrow on your arrow pad, like left, right, up, down, right. You press right, and it puts those chords snap to the grid that's at current. So if your grid is a quarter note, it's a quarter note. If your grid's a whole note, whole note. And then so you can go like, let's say you want to do a chord every 2 beats and you've got a half note grid. You can do like chord, right, chord, right, chord, right, chord, right. And there's your 4 chords snapped perfectly into the grid on half notes for 2 bars, which is like, what?
The hotkey thing is like, it's so real.
Chaos.
Like, it's insane.
Chaos. Unacceptable, unadulterated chaos.
Well, I feel like too. Also, like I use Photoshop, and like you once you use the hotkeys, it's easy to get around and all that. But I feel like there's so many different like sectors of Ableton. Like you open up a different thing, it's like, okay, now you got a completely different set of, or not completely, but you have different hotkeys. You
like
can
Max
use.
for Live.
Yeah, don't
just
even
that. I don't understand it. I'm like, thank God they made it easier where you just use the device, and if you want to look under the hood, you can see like all of the like really scary things, and then you can just ignore it and just move on with your life.
I had a friend she's like a complete visual artist and like did a bunch of stuff, and like I never knew her to be a sound designer, and this was like in high school when I was really nerding out about something, or maybe it was post stuff because I saw it on her Instagram story, but she was doing Max for Live like routing, and I'm like, how did you get into this? And she's like, I don't know. It's just kind of makes sense. And I'm like, you're a different little brain.
Respect to your friend, bro, but you should make sure she's not a serial killer.
No, dude, she killed. I mean,
serial killing the beats.
I'm about to say, man,
That's awesome. That's sick.
I was also you kind of piqued my interest talking about doing church Ableton stuff.
Oh,
because,
sure.
like, it's kind of like with sequencing stuff, or like,
Sure.
kind of doing. But where did you first start figuring out the music of like, you're like, oh, this is like something that might, be ruining my life?
I mean, so my parents, it's funny now, like being older and seeing my mom as an adult, and she's, up there in the years or whatever, and kind of realizing like, wait a minute, my parents were clueless. And not like clueless in the way that I'm clueless, because I am also clueless, but like they actually didn't understand anything about music. They were just like, we like music. We think music's important for people, and we should let our kid try. So like I tried piano, I think when I was in elementary school, and it just went horribly. So they let me quit. I tried trumpet in middle school, which also went horribly. So they let me quit. They made me like stick with it for like a year, and it was just like, this ain't it. I hate this. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll move on. And then like on a whim, I think it was my freshman or sophomore year of high school. Like I had been doing martial arts, and I started to kind of lose steam and interest in that. And I was just like, not really far enough to be lost per se, because I was still like a child. But essentially, I didn't have like a thing yet. And there was a guy at our church who was giving free bass and guitar lessons, and there was a bass at the church. So like for $0 down and for $0 on lessons, like I can go learn this thing, like, eh. And so my mom was like, hey, do you want to try this? And I was like, I don't even know why I said yeah. I remember this really clearly, but I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And we went to the church. It was a 30-minute lesson, and I learned like the low E string, which, funny enough, it was like a 5-string bass, and it was a B, and the guy didn't even know that, like clueless. He's like, man, this is so like out of tune. Why? Tune the B up to E, and he's like, man, the next feels really weird. What's going on here? Like, very funny, like no one had a clue type thing. But I learned basically like what is Ionian, the Phrygian mode. So I learned C major, but starting from E. So it's just like no accidentals and just moving up enharmonically through the scale. I think enharmonic is correct. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. So moving up through that just to the 12th fret. And I literally stayed for another 45 minutes just doing that shit. Literally, like over and over. My fingers were raw, and I was like, this is cool. Like, I could feel the potential of like, whoa. And that was literally, when I say that was it, that was it. Like, I started begging my parents to drop me off at our church so I could play that bass. Like, it became a problem. So much so that they bought me one because they couldn't take me there every day. That's literally all I wanted to do. And that just took over my life. That was literally it. That was
how old were you?
I don't know. 13 or 14, I guess. I mean, however a freshman is.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. See, this is the thing I had. I was like, how old? Like, I'm so far removed from it. It's like,
right.
I have no clue. I'm like, freshman or what, like 12? Like,
I
swear
I don't know. How did you get into music?
I really liked Lenny Kravitz. I remember my dad really let me just run Lenny Kravitz into the ground on a cassette, and then
gracious father,
right? Great, good man. Guitar lessons in like maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade, and
really?
we only did it for like 2 years.
Wow.
My brother stayed at it, but I did it for a year. Bob did it for 2. Because if you did it for 2 years, you get an electric guitar.
Oh, sick.
And he was like, yeah, I'm on.
Got to impress chicks, bro.
Oh, dude,
I need that guitar.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, the thing about it too is he's more disciplined than I am. Like, like I have more discipline now, like doing all this shit.
I was gonna say,
but back then,
I don't know.
Back then though, yeah, he's the guy who's good with money. Like, he's the guy who can get it together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know really what the thing was for the mixes. Really, I mean, like, I was a horrible selector and DJ. Like, I had done it, I had done like selecting for parties and stuff, and like it damn near been booed out of stuff. So like, legit. And so, it started out as a blog just because I was pissed off at somebody, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this now. Like, I'm gonna do this shit. And then I wanted to also write about news because I thought the news was important. And then I was like, you know what, screw it, let's just try doing this thing. And that was the stuff that popped off, and that's where that came from. Just doing all this, and then it was like, okay, well, this would be cool.
That feels like a big gap, though, from like you played guitar as a child and then you started doing like mixes.
Okay. Well, if you want the full story, I mean, like I wanted to be a rapper the whole time. Like, I mean, that was like I was the white boy rapper. For sure. Still am. Like, I just like doing it to remind myself that, or not even remind myself, just to keep myself like sharp, like linguistically.
Yeah, of course.
Or like to be able to talk to people and stuff like that, because it is nice to be able to have a sort of grounding conversation and, have that sort of like spiritual sort of experience with somebody where it's like, you can be able to share your story with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Led to me I did that for a long time till I was from like 15, maybe 14 to 19.
The rapping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like doing that and just being like, oh, I'm just going to do this. And,
cool.
I did it heavy. And then, I got tired of using YouTube beats or trying to holler at people to buy beats. So I was like, I got to figure out how to produce.
Right.
Cracked Ableton, was like, okay, cool. Did that when I moved up to Chicago.
Was that around the 19-year-old mark? Or?
Yeah, probably around 18 when I...
Okay, cool.
I was playing around with beat stuff because I also learned how to use Logic and FL just because I was like, this would be cool to learn all of them. Like, I mean,
awesome.
I wish I used that.
I have a lot of thoughts. Continue.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. But after, kind of going through high school and doing all that and got to college and realized I was like, oh, I kind of like the producing and like, I really like the making the beats and all that. It opened my eyes to older like music and like just like other genres of music and like it that's the best thing that hip hop has done for me. It just gave me such an appreciation for samples, and then that opened up everything.
Interesting.
And then mainly was producing, and it was cool, and did a lot of that in Chicago with people, and didn't do anything like crazy like or like release anything like mainstream or anything, but just ran around the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
And just found management was pretty cool, and like there was a we did a school project, and this girl was doing the marketing for it when we were and when I was doing like a final for something, and like I was like, oh, she's building the world, that shit's really cool. So that kind of bit the bug for me there. And yeah, man, like after that it was like, okay, well, I started working with somebody else on something adjacent to this, and it was like, okay, well, not necessarily, we fell out or anything, but it's just like we were just, had different ideas for what we wanted to do with it. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just, go off and start doing mixes and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then just came back home. Like, came back home after,
so cool.
pandemic and all that. And just like, all right, well, keep it pushing.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a job here,
It's sick.
Yeah. And it was nice because it was like, I needed to get my shit together. Like, I really needed to get my shit together. I needed to learn how to work hard. I needed to learn how to do it honestly. And then I think kind of what I said too is like, if I was just doing that and then had my head down and working, it was like, I think that would just really, sort of, start to unlock the pathway for what I wanted to do. And I was like, all right, well, now we got here.
Yeah. There's definitely like, so I went to school for music, and I was a jazz performance major.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I started on electric bass, and then I switched to upright because I had to actually, well, almost.
I know, yeah. He's our president's a bassist.
Oh, okay,
cool. He's like an upright guy. Yeah. Stuff like
that. But like that season of my life was, because I'm not a huge advocate of like school or higher education. I have a bachelor's degree though, like, so to, for this fear of sounding like a hypocrite, it's like school isn't for everyone. And if I was like totally transparent, I learned a lot of like theory and like bigger concepts and ear training, but like, man, what I feel like I really learned in school was like how to learn and how to work harder than everyone else. Cause like when I went from my 2-year to my 4-year, I got in to the big band cause I was the only bass player at the time who played upright. But I wasn't good enough to be in the big band. Like they were doing stuff where it was like quarter note at 240, which is like really, really fast, really fast. And it was like sight reading music. It was terrifying. I mean, I have a lot of horror stories, but it was the kind of thing where every single day, like we had big band, I think it was 3 times a week. And every time I went, I just got pummeled. I don't know how else to say it. Like I got absolutely demolished, destroyed. Like, and upright, like the way the big band was arranged, you had like all the brass and horns, like on the chairs and bleachers, and then rhythm section. And I think it was like guitar, drums, and then me. And I was next to the ride cymbal so you can hear time. Like that's typically how our big band was configured. And it was just the kind of thing where like I would be here sweating and crying, and the drummer would be next to me, and he would just always like look over at me, and he would just shake his head, just shake his head in disappointment because I'd either be lost or just so far behind, And it's like when you play something really slow, you can fix all of like, if there's a whole note and I go doom, doom, like at the top, I'm learning how to fill all of that time. And my playing can become very clean because I'm focusing on filling all of that. If you don't do that homework, when something becomes really fast, you sound like a synth with like the fastest attack and like zero release. Like that's trash,
Right.
And I was just getting ate up in every possible way. So I would go home. I would, finish practice and get destroyed. I'd go into the practice rooms. I'd practice for like an hour and a half. I'd go home. I'd practice for another hour and a half, take breaks, practice more. I mean, it got to the point where I was taking my actual physical mattress that I slept on, and I put it up against my door so I wouldn't wake my parents up, because I would practice so much at home. I would do like gigs where the blisters on my finger would rip open, and I'd super glue them in between songs and just like shake my hands out and then just fucking rip again.
Hell yeah.
Like, but that, I learned how to work harder than everyone. Like, no one had to work that hard because everyone was already good, and I sucked. I was terrible, and I was getting destroyed every day, and it didn't matter how hard I worked. I still got my ass kicked. And it was just like that life lesson. Now I've had multiple instances where I kind of come to the like sobering reality of like, man, I'm not where I need to be. Like, my production isn't good enough. My chops on my DAW aren't good enough. Like, my ability to capture my ideas or my feelings or to communicate what an artist in front of me is trying to say, it's not it. It's not there yet. And then to be like, okay, that sucks. This is a terrible feeling. I feel like trash. Now what are we going to do about it? I either quit, or it's just like put the mattress against the door and fucking get to work, And that's like that kind of lesson. I don't know, man. I feel like that's worth paying for, So again, I don't know that college is for everyone, but that was the kind of full circle, like life lesson just imprinted into my everything from the school process, So I don't know.
Well, I think getting that sort of reality check in college is a good place to get it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, not later, right?
Oh hell no, dude. I mean like to be honest, I've had a couple of them recently and I'm like, "Oh wow, man. I wish I had this when I was young." I mean, everybody has their own timeline and process and all that, but there, and there are things I learned in college. I'm sure, people are still learning, but you learn a lot. That's why I like talking to people so much. Is because I learn a lot from the perspective that people give me.
Yeah, of course.
Especially some of the people here, just like they've been through so much, or have seen so much of different sides of things.
That's really wise of you. To
but
think of
it's
it that
nice.
way.
It reminds me that life's gonna be okay in the end, and honestly, that it's not really a point to worry about stuff. I mean, because
sure, yeah.
I mean, worry about your finances or you making sure you're good and having your shit correct.
Well, that's being responsible. But I think I understand what you're saying.
That's actually a very good point to make right there. Yeah, it's not too much of that. It's more of being responsible.
Yeah.
When did because it's such a transition between, or not a transition, because you were doing jazz stuff and you talk about like production with DAW and then of course Slow Shiv stuff. Like the thing, like there, like what came after jazz? Like after the bass stuff, and you're like, hey, okay, like
there were like a few things that happened all at the same time. I think if I were to like kind of zoom out and look at my path, as it were. So I was in martial arts, got out of martial arts, started doing music, and it was like church music. But I also I was in high school, and then these like corny church songs are fine, and it's fun, and I can do whatever I want because I play at church all the time. But also now I'm going through puberty, and I have armpit hair, and I want to impress girls. So am I going to play every move I make at the church song with my friends from school, or I'm going to play some fucking Green Day? So yeah, I'm going to play Green Day. So I had a couple of friends, just, you know how it is. Music guys are always the nerds and the rejects in high school, but it's the perfect amalgam for basically Baker acting into something that kind of launches you into the next thing. And for me, it was just all I wanted to do was play punk songs with my friends. Yeah. And so I would jam with those guys, and we would play we'd do lots of covers and stuff, and then I just kept I went from playing at my parents' church to playing at this church that was affiliated with my school. I went to a private school in high school. I like David Chappelle's joke about my parents made just enough money for me to be the poorest kid at school. That was my experience. Yeah, it was anyways. So that school had a church connected to it. And so I started playing in that youth group, and that was all the cool punk versions of the church songs, you know?
Fun.
So I got to kind of start to do that thing. And then by the time I was like a senior starting to graduate, I actually joined a band that had nothing to do with church or school or anything. And that was my real jump like into the South Florida hardcore scene. So I kind of came up in the, I guess like early 2000s. So like I graduated in 2003, and that was when like a lot of like it's South Florida, so I don't really think people know a lot about it, but like Further Seems Forever and Newfound Glory, like those bands had come out of there like in the late 90s, like, and they were the predecessors to like Strong Arm and all of these other like old school hardcore bands. They kind of were the founders of a lot of the stuff that happened there. And I could be wrong about other stuff. I definitely don't know everything, but when me and my friends started coming up, that was like the scene down there. There were crews, but it wasn't like a really big thing at first. And so I was in like a band that was like wanted to be a hardcore band, but we had like a key/DJ. So we like weren't heavy enough to be a hardcore band, but we weren't like new metal enough to be like a Dream Theater band or like a prog rock band, or like some sort of bastardized weird thing in between. So I did that for a while, and then, bands change and this singer or that, like, so I did that scene thing at the same time I was in school for music. So it was like I was really in like the scene, like the South Florida scene, and I was in like the jazz scene in South Florida, which was really bizarre.
Hell yeah.
Like really bizarre.
Hell yeah.
And I did that for basically like my younger kind of early college years. And then when I was I kind of started like in the same way, I kind of fell out of love with like hardcore in the scene. Cause then it turned into like, oh, this crew showed up to this show. Like, don't fuck with those guys, cause they will literally beat the shit out of you in the alley. Like, oh, okay, well, this isn't fun anymore. Yeah. Like this is really stupid. These like really old guys are coming and ruining our fun. Like, why would you guys drive down from Tampa to come to this show? I don't know. Anyways. So cool. So then I started getting into production, like on accident, cause, I was making like beats for fun. And then I got a job at a different church, and I started making loops just to do it, because it was like sometimes me and like two other people, like a drummer and a bass player. And I was like, well, these songs sound really weak. If I can make a track and play it on my iPod, like it feels better, like having all this stuff with it. And that was kind of like, then that turned into like, that was GarageBand, like printing like stereo sum to mono and putting it on left and then click on the right. Like I did that thing on an iPod. Yes. And then it started evolving into like the friendships, getting into Ableton and all of that stuff. And then that was kind of like, the more I did that, I started to realize like, well, bass is cool, but like, I don't really like having this identity as a bass player. Like every band I was in, every church that I worked at, every church that I made a lot of money like playing at different churches even. And I was like the bass guy. And I was like, I don't really like this. Like, I don't like being identified as the bass guy. It feels too pigeonholey and too narrow for me. And it took me a really long time to figure out how to articulate that, like people will kind of define you, or they'll try to. And like, for me, it was cool at first to feel like some sort of, oh yeah, like I'm cool. I do this thing. And then after a while I was like, nah, fuck all this. Like, you guys can't tell me I'm just this one thing, because everyone in the circles that I was in, Dan, the bass player. And I was like, I hate this.
Bassman.
Yeah, I hate it. I absolutely hated it. Like I was like, but I have other ideas. I want to do other stuff, And so that's when I started getting more into production, all of those other things kind of faded away, and then whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you can, with me too, like it was like I am really interested in writing right now, and I'm interested in producing. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I'm getting much more interested in marketing or branding.
Yeah.
And stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you come back into, you're like, it's kind of like breaking up with a girlfriend. It's like, okay, 4 years have passed. It's like, okay, it's, we can,
Yes.
sort of, get the, interminglings happen. Not like the,
we can be in the same room and
exactly,
not hate each other.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And, like, be friends one day type shit. And
Right.
Like, you can, like, it'll never be the same thing as it was because, we're younger back in the day or whatever. But, still, I'm getting too deep on that. But also going back going back to Ableton, though, too. I'm about to say,
we can go as deep as you want,
I'm about to say,
bro.
it's like, I got a person in my head I'm looking at, and I'm like, I need to chill.
Get it out of there.
Go away. No, I was talking about Ableton too, and I know we'd mentioned it before. I feel like Ableton's a big community. I feel like all the DAWs are nowadays because I feel like FL heads get together and do a lot of co-producing stuff together.
Oh, cool.
I think Ableton's a good one too, where I see a lot of the community basis and all that.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're moving off Bassman and going more towards producing, and all that, when did the engineering start coming into play?
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Or is it always kind of a thing because or stuff you're doing with the band? Or
well, okay, I don't know the answer, but I kind of will just fucking tell you more stories. I guess.
Please, yeah, no, go for it. That's what this is for, bro. I swear to God, like the more you get to talk stories, the more I don't have to think of shit to say. Absolutely, take it, baby.
But I'm gonna hit you with some questions too. Get ready. Okay. So like fast forward a few years, around 2012, I had joined a band that did some more like touring or whatever. The singer in that band was friends with Chris Carrabba from Dashboard Confessional. And
heard of the band.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely older. Chris is basically like coined like the father of emo.
Oh, okay. Hell
so like he was doing like. He headlined Madison Square Garden, and he did like MTV Unplugged when that was a thing. It's like
he's
some pretty big shit,
yeah,
but like,
shit is that guy.
But back in the day, it's not like, but I mean, also in a cool way, they're having a resurgence. So I'm really happy for him. But I digress. So the singer knew Chris, and Chris started. He brought Further Seems together. Further Seems Forever. He brought them back together again. Oh my gosh, my brain.
That was
and so yeah, it really was. And so one of my best friends who was in like my wedding, he was working for Chris at the time. He was the aforementioned mentor who basically taught me Ableton Live. So my buddy, shout out to Jonathan Clark, Click Lemon. I don't know if you see him or Lemon.
I'll tap in.
Yeah,
give me info
he's on
afterward.
Insta. Dude, he's the fucking man.
Gotta lock in, bro.
Yeah, dude. Jonathan.
That's an Ableton head for this.
Dude, Jonathan is literally no joke. But and by far one of my favorite people on the planet. But yeah, so Jonathan was working for Chris, and I was just like, fuck it, let me reach out to the guy. So right before that happened, my band went on tour with Further, and we did like. Did we get the opening slot? I can't remember. It's a long time, but that was like my first real tour. Like we played like some Live Nation venues, and like it was like real. Like you had to have credentials. It wasn't none of this like scene bullshit where you get your friends in for free and there's like whatever. Like the shows at a skate park, like which is sick, but. Yeah. This was like my first time.
There are levels to this shit.
Yeah, right. This is my first time dealing with real venues. Like he had a TM, there's management, there's like their writer and all this shit. I was like, wow. Like my eyes were just like opened. Like I had no idea it existed. And then come to find out, it's like, oh yeah, my fucking dude Jonathan works for Chris. And so I called him one day and I was like, yo. What does it take for me to be around you guys? Like simply, like
that's awesome.
I will throw trash out. I will go run errands. I will do whatever, but I want to be on the fly on the wall. I want to be a fly on the wall. I want to learn. And it was weird because I was like in my 20s, married already. And it's just like, I'm willing to do something for free because the information I'm going to gain is more valuable than making $20 an hour or whatever I could have hoped to make then, And so, unbeknownst to me, that he was on tour in Chris's like side band that he was doing at the time called Twin Forks, because he produced and played bass on that stuff. But they were in the van, and Chris could hear our conversation. So he talked to Chris about it, and basically I forgot how we exchanged info, but basically I got Chris's number, and I texted him. He's like, "Hey, are you available to come by the studio? We can talk today." and just tell me what you want. So I like dropped everything one day, fucking went up there, and he had a private studio, like it was in a warehouse in a, you know, a unmarked location, undisclosed location in Boca Raton, Florida, you know? So I showed up there and I was like, holy shit. Like you walk in, there's like a lobby, like chill room. There's like this control room. And then the live room was just a warehouse. And like, there's the like storage racks, you know, and there's a huge tarp covering. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 stories tall. It's an industrial warehouse. And the tarp that was covering the storage racks was the backdrop for Madison Square Garden when they headlined. And I walked in and just like the gravity of like, this, don't fuck this up, Dan. This is like your one chance to like learn some shit that actually can add up in the real world, you know? Like, so I was super nervous, but we just started shooting the shit. We were cleaning up like the warehouse and the studio and like wrapping cables, and we were just talking, and he's like, well, what can I do for you? And he was like really kind and gracious. And I essentially was like, yeah, I just want to learn. And he goes, okay, as long as you want to learn and you're willing to be here, come and we'll put you to work and you can be here. And I was like, wow, you know, like, ah.
Fuck yeah,
and
dude.
So fast forward a few years, I got to help engineer on I got an engineering credit on that Twin Forks record that came out. Like I got to be like close in that vicinity. Like Dashboard basically started brewing again around that time. And it was really cool to be in the vicinity of all that stuff and just kind of feel that energy. And basically one day he was like, hey, we're moving to this place called, we're moving to Nashville, basically. And he's like, because I don't want to put where he lives on blast, but he's like, we're moving to Nashville. And I really think you guys should think about it. And you guys as in like me and Natalie, my wife. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, cool. In my brain, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm leaving South Florida. You know, like that's crazy talk, you know? And I talked to Natalie about it, and she was like, yeah, that's cool. You know, it could be cool. And we were in a weird season because we had been married for a few years at that point. And like all my jobs are kind of floundering out. She worked for a media company. She's a graphic designer. So when you speak about Photoshop and InDesign, I know about the cloud.
Yeah, y'all, trust me, I'm a baby. Y'all are parents. I know how it works.
She's a fucking monster, bro. Dude. But anyways, but I talked to Nat, and we were like, yeah, that's cool, you know, and it kind of like the conversation it just faded, you know, nice crossfade into nothing. And then fast forward like a couple months, and we're like, Natalie and I were in the warehouse loading it into 18-wheelers because they were moving to Nashville. Like he was leaving. And the gravity of like, yo, this is my one connection to something legitimate, and they're not fucking around. And Chris again was like to Natalie and I this time, he's like, you know, I really think you guys would do well in Nashville. You know, I can't promise you anything. I don't know. But there's a lot of design work. There's a lot of music stuff and production for you, Dan. Like, it could be good, you know? And I was like, you know what? We were in the car, like and that guy, Ryan, I was in a band called Civilian. Ryan was the singer. He was the connect to Chris initially, because that was the further tour. Ryan was the guy who was trying to give everybody their flowers. So, Natalie, Ryan, and I were in the car. Like, actually, were we in the car? I don't fucking remember. I just remember Nat and I like talking to each other. And I remember very clearly being like, you know, we can go and we can fail. But if we don't go in 5 years, can we live with the idea of what if? Like, that was the big thing. It was like, we'll be fine if we don't go. But what happens if we don't go and we look back years later and we're like, man, what would it be like if we went? And that singular thought was like the fucking mattress against the door. It was just like, fuck this. Let's go. And Ryan, like, unbeknownst to us, he was just as down as we were. And we're like I was shocked he wanted to do that. So like, I felt so great about like, well, I don't have a job here. Everything I do is independent. I had just started producing records. I was like a baby in it. And these people, my like lifeline to learning how to do this and having a connection to it was they were going. And now my bandmate was down to go, fuck it, let's run it, you know? So we moved. Like we live not far from the airport, and we had a friend who lived, like he had already moved up. He went to our house that we were going to move into and FaceTimed us. Like the first day we saw our place for real was when we moved in. Like we like leap of faith, like dummies, absolute insanity, you know? But I'm so glad we did. And coming up here with that community, it was just me driving to their place all the time. We built a studio in Chris's basement, like really sick control room, live room, like the whole thing. And I learned so much. And doing that, like Chris was really cool, like because he has a really tight, I mean, they came up for forever, like in the scene. So like I ended up getting to work with Chad from Newfound on some stuff. I engineered on some stuff for him. I engineered some vocals for that band H2O because they're all friends. We did some like blah, 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 blah. But that was like the big springboard where I was just like, all right, now I'm here. Now I'm fucking doing this thing. So longer story short, engineering happened kind of out of a necessity and kind of out of like this foolish ideology that I could do everything. Because when I moved here, I was like, oh yeah, I engineer, I produce, I mix, and I master. Like, and then I kind of, once I met my friend Cam, who's like the best engineer I've ever met in my entire life, I quickly realized like, oh yeah, fuck all that. I'm not an engineer. You know, like I was like, I love like, long story short, I like producing, but engineering is like a necessity to produce. So like I learned some, you know, I can't tell you everything about like a microphone. I can't tell you everything about like why large versus small diaphragm, or like why I would use like, you know, a condenser mic or whatever. I'm pretty sure the condenser mic, right? Like why would I use XYZ? Like, I understand like certain tools. I understand like proximity and like phase and some of the like tools that you gain over time, you know, that you kind of need to like fucking do your job well, you know? But also at the same time, like I would never say I'm an engineer, because that skill set is like, dog, that's a whole other world, you know, like a whole other world. I just have like the tools and some fundamental understanding, and that like, that is the, like, that's why I stay with Ableton, right? Like when I went to Pro Tools, I found myself like fucking clicking and clacking all the time. And I was like, cool, now that I have my tracks, let's record. Okay, hold on, I have to arm the track. I'm gonna make this group for these two tracks. And okay, you ready? And it's just like the mojo's gone, you know? So it was all just kind of part of the process of getting to like, get this shit out of the way. I want to make the music. So like, what's the easiest way to do it? What's the best tool for this job? Let me invest in that tool. And then let's just get to the idea, the fun part, you know? And I think fundamentally understanding that helped me realize, like, I'm not an engineer. I'm a producer. But yeah, I hope.
Dude, that
long
was,
way to answer that question.
I love stories, just in general. That was probably one of the better stories that I've heard come up about, like, what we do here. Just because, like...
You're gracious.
Well, I think you made the right call at the time, just in my opinion, because if you have all the signs pointing and being like, hey, this, and you also had the wherewithal to be like, this is my only lifeline, like, you know, you got to fix, because I've never had when I left Chicago, I was like, I wonder what 5 years would be like if I didn't stay here. Like if I leave, like what's my 5 years? I never made that call, and it was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go back
But that's
home.
cool too, though.
Well, no,
yeah.
but it's like, I think I always learn so much from people, just about like, you know, taking a step back and analyzing situations.
Yeah.
Because that's something I'm not good at.
Right.
Like I can sort of, you know, forecast and, you know, pinpoint certain things and and all that. But really looking at, you know, the sort of like the pros and cons of what your next decisions could be, is being like, that's something I've really tried to learn, you know, since getting my shit together, and being like, okay, what's good on this? Like, along with working harder and being like, okay, like I need to use my time on this as opposed to this. And And I'm also that also honestly led me to the thing where I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not a producer. I just like making beats.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I really enjoy, you know, the beat making process and all that, because it is kind of like the playground side of it where there's still mojo in there and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Um.
So like, what kind of? Okay.
Now you're gonna ask questions.
One of the things I like about Ableton is like it is this utilitarian tool where like one guy's gonna use it to like program lights for a tour, one guy's gonna use it to just make some fucking crazy ass Afro-Cuban beats, one guy's gonna use it to like DJ at a festival. You know, like there's so many things that you can do. Like, what is the thing that you like to use? I mean, I know making beats, but like, what's your process?
Samples, dude.
Okay,
Like,
what do you use to chop samples? Like drum racks or
no? I just straight. What I'll do is I'll YouTube to MP3 and I'll just drag it in, and then I'll line it up and, you know, just put the one on the one and, you know, get it on beat to where I was like, okay, this will be a nice speed, and I'll just go pitch up and down, you know, through the octaves of semitones. Like,
yeah,
I'll go down. I usually don't go down 12 because like you don't need to, or up 12, but like, you know, if, like, you can find some pretty good shit, you know, taking it down to like, you know, -8 or whatever, and then being like, okay, like, because honestly, like, I was never good at drums. Like, when I would produce with my friend Jerry, shout out Jerry,
shout out Jerry,
shout out Jay. I was always more of the sample god, and he was the drum head because he was the producer. Because I came up and I was like, I just want to chop samples. I like the pretty voice going really high, like, you know, on a Kanye record.
Cool, yeah,
and he was always like, bro, my drums gotta knock before I can even start doing, you know, anything on the side.
Right.
So that was, you know, a nice little match, and we made some pretty dope shit.
Cool.
But then it was also like, you know, kind of like, you know, I mentioned Collision earlier, just like kind of messing around with all of the instruments. There was a period where I was like, I'm only really going to make stuff if it's something that's stock in Ableton. And I was like, you know, let me just put,
cool.
Yeah, I was like, let me just, because, you know, there's always the 30-minute beat, you know, limitation, like the hour, whatever.
Right.
I was like, let's just do like the stock, you know, limitation. And Ableton's got great stock stuff.
Dude, Ableton has great stock stuff.
Like the effects specifically. Like, I love Ableton effects.
Yes.
Great instruments, but the effects specifically, I'm really down with.
I stumbled into this really weird workflow. Like, I'm very hybrid, where because I was doing only inside, like only in the box, and then I went only analog because I was a Pro Tools guy, and MIDI is a fucking nightmare. At least it was in Pro Tools 9. You know, like MIDI was such a pain. Where it was just like, I would rather find a piano and play it with a microphone, recording it, than actually attempt to play this with a MIDI controller and then fix the piano roll in Pro Tools. Like, end me. Velocity, no thanks. So, so I was only playing stuff analog, and that's when I started learning like compression and like EQ and using like actual real analog, because that was like coincided with the time I was working with Chris and those guys, and they were mostly analog. And then I went, oh man, you know, like there's stuff I feel like I could be doing, but I'm totally limited because I refuse to use anything in the computer, and I feel like I'm missing out a lot. So then I went back in the box, but then I had like guitars and pedals and keyboards and shit, and I was like, okay, two together. So my live like Ableton workflow still suffers within the knowledge of like using Operator and Collision and all the actual instruments, and like you, their echo is insane. The 12.3 update, that tremolo auto pan
I'm still stuck on 11. I haven't gotten, dude. So I bought it with a different email, and I deleted the email address.
My God,
there's a lot of stuff, dude.
Email support, bro. You gotta get on 12.3.
The thing about
they have their own auto tune now.
Dude, I'm getting so many just social media ads flying. There's like, hey, 12.3's out.
Yeah,
like,
they're
you know,
toxic,
we got,
bro.
They're
ruthless.
I remember when they were first putting out Wavetable. I think that's what it was. And they're like, bro, we got Wavetable. Like,
I know.
I'm like, it's sick, but
yeah,
I ain't got bread.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's, and that, I mean, to your point, you know, like Ableton is even 10 is sick.
Oh yeah.
You know, like even 10 is just because the way that it's made for capturing ideas. I feel like of anything that I worked with, that was the thing that got out of the way, where the computer got out of the way.
I'd agree.
You know, I press less buttons and I play more music way faster. And that was the thing. For some people, it's Pro Tools. For some people, it's FL. For some people, it's Logic. dude, there is no wrong answer or right answer. It's literally, but for me, that was the thing. As it just fucking got out of the way so fast. So you're getting into drums now.
Oh, boy.
Chopping them up or like?
Honestly, nowadays, so yes, back when I was cutting up, yeah, I think because real drum breaks just sounded so much better. Like, when you can just, and I liked just how they sounded with the soul samples. And then I really got into Future, like the rapper. I fuck with Future, dude.
Okay.
Like there was a period in college where my MacBook broke and I got like $100 burner Windows laptop and cracked FL on there and was like,
let's go.
I was like, all right, I'm just gonna make very shitty Atlanta trap beats. And it kind of got me into the mode where I was like, okay, what if I blended the samples with the 808s and all that? And then like that was cool. I wasn't too good of the engineering side. I had to learn how to mix and like learn to pull the volume down and then start mixing and like doing.
You mean when every fader's clipping red?
You're telling me when this is
bad?
up 6 volume, this is not how it's supposed to be.
When everything sounds like that's bad, right?
It's a whole black bar, right? And like that's good. It's pushing. No, and then that's kind of that's what led me into kind of all I really like doing now is making like I call it drill soul for lovers. And
I need to hear this.
Basically, it's just,
I need to hear this.
Basically, it's just like drill beats, for lovers, like in yearners, and
So is it like slower?
No, it's got like it's a lot. I'll show you some stuff.
Please do.
The last stuff that I was making before, like I was like, okay, I need to like just take a break off because I put so much stake into being a producer. I was like, nah, I need to come off this because it's getting unhealthy at this point.
Okay.
I still have this stuff laying around somewhere, but it's like, yeah, it mixes like a lot of like, emotional soul samples with kind of the drill hats and drums and all that kind of stuff. And
dope. Sounds cool.
And definitely like lover boy, lover girl music.
Yeah,
so
sick.
And I was like, yeah, this is kind of like all in my lane. Like I'm half sad boy, half brash boy. So like,
yes,
I could
go.
probably do. You're right. And so it's like, yeah, and that after that it was just like I was really lucky because like with Kayvon's Discord, I was able to meet a lot of different people from around the world, and they get like specifically Nivea. Shout out Niv, bro, that's my guy. He lives out in the UK and he makes really good drill beats, and I was basically. I was on his tuchus asking him for advice and being
that's
like,
cool.
Bro, like you got to tell me how you make your hat sound like this. He's like, oh, bro, it's this and this and this. And I'm like,
sick.
I'm like,
it's amazing.
Like, dude was like, yeah. And so
that's
it was very, very, I'm very appreciative of them just giving the keys away like that.
And now you're going to teach me all that shit too. I'm going to steal it from you,
dude,
bro. Let's
absolutely,
go.
baby. There's a censor bar for all the game I just gave you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so talking about all this, and now that there's like a whole bunch of context with it.
Okay.
How did Slow Shiv become a thing? Like, where did you join up with them?
Okay.
Or where's the story?
So, the shortest possible version. I met Jordan Smith, who's like one of the founding members of Diarrhea Planet, actually in South Florida, but I ended up re-meeting him when we moved here about 11 years ago. We connected. He was like one of my first like kind of early friends here. He is so friendly and like kind.
What's his name again?
Jordan Smith. Yeah. That guy he's built different. I love that dude. And so he was just like an early friend, and we just stayed in touch, DP toured a ton at the time, and so he'd be gone, or when he was back, like, yo, let's get a coffee, or let's like try to hang. And I showed him my band at the time, and he's like, yeah, this is, it wasn't for him. He's being nice, but it wasn't for him. And time kind of went on, and DP started going through some changes. Their original bass player, or their bass player, Mike Boyle, ended up quitting and moved to a different town. And when he moved, DP started using subs. And one day, like in a conversation, I was like, dude, why don't you just let me play for you guys? Like, that would be really fun for me and super fucking cool. And like, I would love to do that. At the time I was really interested in like touring, and I still had some of that, like, I am a good bass player. I can use this thing as a tool to, And so I basically ended up like becoming like their permanent sub. And I low key joined the band for a year and a half, almost 2 years. Did a few tours with them. And like the last tour that I did was like 2018. It was pretty cool. Yeah. We opened up for The Darkness, which, whatever. And that was like, I really got to spend a lot of time with Jordan then. And there was one tour in particular where we had our Sprinter broke down, and it was like we ended up having to like, it was a really shitty situation, but we gamified it, and we had to split up the 6 of us into 3 different vehicles. And we drove from the Pacific Northwest down to Santa Cruz, and it was like a race to see who could get there first kind of thing. We were just being stupid. Yeah. And so Jordan and I, we were just like, fuck it, let's pair up. Cause like fast friends on the road too. Like it was just me and him like tied at the hip, always just goofing off. We always roomed together. It was like, there's like the dad room and then the kid room. We made the jokes or whatever. It was like Brent, Jordan, and me always in the same room. And then Ian, Emmett, and young tough Gus in the, Evan, Emmett, and Ian in the other room. And, that was just like our dynamic. It was really, really, really fun. And so I remember when we were doing that drive down, we actually talked about like, you know what, man, like we should do a thing one day. This was in 2018, right? DP ends up breaking up. They've done a bunch of reunion stuff since then, which is really cool. And I'm really happy that they've been able to do that and get some proper recognition because that band's fucking cool. But after the band broke up, Jordan needed some time like away, but I love that guy. He's always been like a real friend. And so it was really easy to just stay in touch and stay friends. Like he had no social equity, but I didn't give a shit because he's my friend and I love him. And so years kind of went by, and then I'm trying to remember this well because we started basically writing Slow Shiv songs 2 years before the EP came out. And our first EP came out 2 years to the date of our first session ever. It was like August 23rd, 2021 or 2022, something like that. Yeah, 2022, I think. And so we just started slowly cooking. Like it was just, he had some ideas, he would bring them over, and like our process in the beginning just took forever, where he would bring a skeleton, it had some stuff. We would work out parts, maybe retrack the guitars. And that was like 1 week. The next week we would like maybe fix the drums or do this thing. And it was just, he was in this place where like he had gotten so burnt out because he did heavy, like DP toured like 250 days a year.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was nuts. And he did that for like a decade, so
Jesus
understandably
Christ.
He was really burnt out, really tired. And so, again, my friend, and I love him, I didn't want music to be this tool to, like, it's like, I'm stoked you want to do this with me. He's different. Like his ideas, the way he sings, his melodies, like he is just different, man. And I always wanted to do something with him. So I was willing to just be patient and let the process kind of reveal itself, because like anytime you work with an artist, not one person is going to work the same as another. And you have all the tools in your tool belt, but like my job as a producer is to serve whoever's sitting in the chair that I get to sit with, really. It's not with me, but I'm with them, like I'm supporting them. So same approach, it's like I wasn't working, but it was like, I understand enough that my friend is putting his toes and now his foot and now his ankles back into the pool of making music again. So I just want to be gentle and like give him what he needs, So it would take a couple weeks to make the track. And then we do 1 week where we just were like humming melodies, coming up with melodies. And then 1 week where we started working on lyrics, and we take a break and then we come back. And it took like 6 weeks to write our first song, but that's the song Avalanche of Hate. It was like the first one we did. And that was it. Like once we started doing that, like, shit, this is kind of cool. It has this thing. Let's keep doing this. So we did. We just wrote for probably 8 months to a year. And then it was like, okay, now it's time to record this shit. We need an actual band. And we really tossed around the idea of like getting another guitar player and who could be a drummer and da-da-da-da. And in my old band, we had a drummer sit in. His name's Jordan McGee. And I was like, you know what, man? I feel like I have the perfect drummer because Jordan's like his main band is this band called Advent, which is like an OG hardcore band. Like hardcore metal. They've been around for a while and they are just vicious. Like they're such a sick band. And him, especially as a drummer, not all drummers are built the same and not all drummers can play genres, you know? And like McGee is just one of those guys who he's got amazing touch, great ideas. He is almost to a point of frustration, obsessed with his instrument. You know, like when we record, it's like, dog, I know I'm a producer and like this is my job, but like I am not the best at everything. When it comes to drums, I'm like fucking sick. He's like, can we like, I'm like, at some point I just check out. Like his attention to detail for his craft is just like on another level, which is so cool because it makes me better. I mean, what the fuck? I don't know. I'm not a drummer, but he is just that guy and he hits so fucking hard. So we brought McGee in and then it was just like, you know what? Let's just do this as a 3-piece. Like, why not? You know, because individually, we're all like good at our craft and we've got like multiple decades on our instruments alone, like individually. So when we come together, it was just like, I think we felt like, man, we can do this 3-piece thing. So like Jordan's like the main vocalist. I do like a bunch of other BGVs and like secondary vocals. And then McGee does vocals as well. And then we all play our respective instruments. And it was like, man, this is like kind of a thing. And so we just chased it, put out the EP August 23rd, I guess 2024. And it's been a thing. So yeah, it's like we all kind of came from the hardcore scene to some degree. But then we all like various different things. And then when we all came together, just the amalgamation of all of that made kind of whatever Slow Shiv is.
That's crazy. Like the experience alone, just that resume is crazy.
It's kind of fucked up. We did the math, and I think between the three of us, we have like over 75 years of experience.
That's insane. That is nuts, dude.
We're a boomer when you put us together.
No, you're a full-grown retired adult.
We're on our way to the grave.
I think too, you mentioning all of the influences is how it meant. Like, because once you take people who have, like I said, who have those pieces to add to that resume, and then like just y'all are creatives who just enjoy art and bring all those forces together. And that y'all actually care about each other.
Yeah.
Like, y'all are friends. Because like having that patience, just be like, hey, like, also, that's partially producer brain too, being like, "Hey, I just got to take time with it." But also too, just the fact that like, this is my guy. Like, I'm not, we're not pushing anything. I'm not trying to get anything pushed out the door right now. Like, I'm just trying to, figure this out with my guy, and I would still like him the same amount even if we weren't doing this. So
right? Yeah, I mean, I think like, being a good producer is almost like just trying to be a good human.
I was gonna say, being a good person,
like. Is everything about me? Like, no one actually gives a shit about me. Maybe there's a couple people, I know my kids like me, maybe. Not in 10 years, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? It's like the world doesn't revolve around me. And I think there's an element of like, if we want the world around us to be, a somewhat pleasant place to live, if we had the attitude of serving each other, I think it would feel a lot differently, know? And so it felt like, I bring that to any sort of like music environment. Like, I don't have to have the best ideas. I don't have to be the biggest voice in the room. And I can be the worst at everything. That I don't give a shit. That's fine. And I feel like because I'm there to serve everyone else, the artist, whoever, and it's a joy to be there. I feel like when you bring that to anything, it makes it better, because it's kind of humiliating to willingly be like, I don't have to get all the fucking shine. Like that's really hard. It's very like opposite of our culture. It's very opposite of our industry. I feel like my career probably isn't as far as it should be. And I definitely don't, I'm so far behind a lot of my other friends because I was unwilling to be that guy. But I'm okay with that, you know, like I'm really grateful for like everything the Lord has put like in my life and on my plate. Like all my needs are met, you know, and I actually get to sleep at night. And I'm grateful for that. I don't think everyone can say that.
Hell no.
And it's not like some sort of bullshit humble brag. I mean, it's very much like I'm grateful, and I feel like that kind of attitude helps preserve relationships too. And it kind of helps, you know, keep you open to learning because it never ends, you know, like you gave me props about being in a band and having the patience, but it's been a learning curve, you know, like it's hard to be in a group or in a committed friendship even when you disagree or like when you think differently about something. It's like scary because like, well, if I disagree with you, you may not like me. And it's scary to be rejected, you know, especially when you care for someone. You're like, like, please don't fucking push me to the side, you know, like that's a hard
think differently of me. Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. And people can be ruthless, but I think, I don't know, like some people would say like you get what you give.
Yeah.
You know, and like without over spiritualizing it, I definitely think there's an element of like I'm not mad at the people I'm surrounded by, you know?
Hell yeah. Well, because you get to sleep at night too, and like
Right.
you've built your life around your creed and or like the code that you live by, and that these sort of things can't get they can't get invaded by kind of foreign affairs in a certain way. It's like I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but I'm like I'm gonna think of a CIA reference.
I told the line with it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of going into talking about fatherhood too. I mentioned I wanted to hear about that, or like even married life and all that,
Sure.
and like balancing all of these amazing things, like not only working with Slow Shiv, but also doing your independent engineering, producing, and then also just having to being a friend to people in the scene and all that, but then having to like take care of stuff. Like what's fatherhood like? How has had been balancing with all this stuff? And just
I mean, so I'm 40.
nice.
I got married when I was 23, and my oldest child is 10. So I had my first kid when I was like 29, borderline 30, and it's been quite the journey. I've made so many mistakes, man. I've done a lot of things very poorly, and legitimately, by the grace of God, I am still here and I'm still married. It's actually a fucking miracle. Fatherhood has been like a real journey, just like marriage. You change, you change a lot, and you have to be willing to change. I feel like you have to be willing to accept that you'll change, and you have to be willing to want to change into something that you're proud of. Because I think if you leave a piece of bread with butter out on the counter, it's going to change, but it may be pretty nasty at some point, right? Or if you have a plant and you never water it, it will change, but it'll die, right? So I feel like all relationships, like that's why I like bringing it back to being like a friend, because I think anyone can relate to being a friend. At any season in your life, whether you're older or younger or fucking dinosaur, like either way, gotta have homies, And being like a dad was not something I wanted. It was not something I was ready for, and it was not something I embraced. I really struggled like a lot. I probably like I resented my life for a long time. I felt like my career wasn't where it needed to be because I couldn't make the sacrifices I needed to make that my peers could because they either didn't have kids or weren't married. I allowed myself to feel like my life was a limitation to my career. And now, years later, I'm so grateful to realize that, like, as hard as that was, like, my path is mine. And if I didn't get to do something because of my family, it was probably a blessing. Like, a lot of the things that I missed out on, I don't even remember what they are. Like, what importance do they have? Like, nothing. But I have a living legacy. Not that I care about my legacy, but I have like
Got a bloodline.
people who count on me and people who I can help change. Like, you can do whatever you want to the world and like try to petition for change and petition for this and this and that. But dog, you can do way more of an impact if you look within the four walls of your home, you know? And it's like, that is, if you choose to look at it that way, that is a gift of having a wife and a family, you know, or having a family, kids, so on and so forth. I think I'm finally at a place where I see that, you know, and I accept it and I embrace it. And but it took a long time, right? Being married was like super fun. You're like, yeah, me and my girl do whatever, you know. And then when kids came along, it was like, oh, now I can't do this, now I can't do that. And I gotta say, I think I have the coolest wife in the world because she has been like so supportive the whole way. Like we played some No Country for New Nashville like thing that was at Acme, like my old band. And I remember her bringing packs like in the baby carrier, like, you know, like 9:30 p.m. on Broadway. Dude. Like, who the fuck's doing that, you know? She was down to clown, man. Wow. Like, she's been so supportive. You know, I'd have, friends come in to tour, like running monitors at this thing or that thing, blah, 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 and I would just bring packs with us, you know? But yeah, I mean, it was just like it's always been a path, and it's been like a really big learning curve. But I mean, I'm in therapy now, so I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning a lot about myself. But I think when I learned to look at things like I get to do this, it kind of changed my life, you know? Like, I get to be on Boolah's podcast. It's fucking sick. It is, you know?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate
like,
that.
I get to be in a band. What a gift. How many people get to be in a band? A band that they fucking like.
Yeah.
And a band that's actually making cool shit, you know? How many people get to say they like all the stuff they produce? I don't know, but I do, you know? Like, how many people get to say, like, they know that they're doing their best to be a good friend to whoever they can be, you know? I don't know, but I know that I get to do that, you know? How many people get to say, I get to be a father to Pax, Rue, and Shy? No one. I am. I get to do that, you know? And that's pretty fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I always ask that question to fathers.
Yeah, it's a great question.
You know, I think that's kind of, it's not necessarily a curveball, but it's not a question you get just in the random, you know.
No, it's a good question.
It's the
An
thing of
actual
everything.
question.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's always, once again, and going back to perspective, I think that's a huge, because it's a huge thing, not only how kids change your life, but like going from, like, you know, like you said, all the stuff you could do before to after, making those sacrifices.
Yeah.
You know, and talking about, I think a lot of it comes down to gratitude, like, you know, being gracious. Like, you know, that's something I've been trying to get a lot better with. It's like, you know, even just now, like trying to be more grateful that, like, you know, I get to do this and or get to talk to people or get to, you know, work here or, you know, get to, or even like you said, get to sleep at night. Like, you know, it's not everybody gets to these sort of things.
Yeah, totally.
And I think a lot of, you know, I don't know if it's going through life, but, you know, life or perspective or just things. It's like, you know, you get that view on it. It's like, oh, okay, like, you know, it's pretty nice that we get to do this.
Yeah. I mean, also too, like, if you're kind of like not a bitch about it, like being like, if you can stay healthy, stay married, and do your best to be a good like father figure, like you can actually kind of like I get up at like 6:30. I usually hit the snooze, so maybe I would get up at like 6:49 if we're being honest. But I wake up earlier than I want to every fucking day, every day, and I help my kids get ready. Though it takes a lot less work these days because they're older, thank God. Those young ages, I thought they were gonna kill me. Like I help my kids get ready, and then I go train. I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Monday through Friday. I train with the comp team at Shoutout Enzo Gracie Nashville, Sean Williams Jiu-Jitsu, and I train with those guys. And then I either come home and I'm working on stuff for the gym. I'm working on stuff for music. Maybe I get to chill for a little bit, and then I teach a couple days a week at the gym that I train. I'm the director of our kids program, so I do that. And then I have sessions. I've got the band. I've got other artists. I've got the publisher that I work for. I've got I actually can't remember how many plates I have. I usually remember once I see it like falling, and I'm like, hey, you got to catch it. You know, like I juggle a lot, but your capacity to do more can really grow. It's kind of insane. Like people are like, oh, I don't have time. Dog, yeah, you do. Yeah, you really do. Yes, you fucking do. Yeah, you know. Really do. Also, really do. Like, how willing are you to do what it takes? You know, like, and that was like again the fucking mattress against the wall. Yeah, dude. Like I had peers that were unwilling to practice 4 hours a day. Yeah. Guess what? I am. Yeah. And I will.
Absolutely.
And that can just continue to translate in a tangible way, like your whole life, you know? So now, like, I've learned that I get really frustrated if I don't get me time. So, like, at night, kids go to bed. They're like by 8:30. Me and Nat give a kiss, fucking high five. Good night. I stay on the couch or fire up the PlayStation. She watches the show and falls asleep. And I get Dan time, you know? And I get that every single day. Hell yeah. I fall asleep way too late, and then I wake up early and run it back. You know, it's just the way of that's my life, you know? But yeah, you get good at maybe, I guess you could complain, but that's an annoying way to live, complaining all the time. But
I would say I can complain, but nobody's going to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
You know,
and it's that like, I love that. I can complain, but no one's gonna listen to me. Yeah, like who wants to hear that shit anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I think about it like I'll hear somebody complain, then I'll start mentally complaining. Even that's like trying to get myself out of a headspace. But like, no, snatch that shit. Like, get out of there. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, dude, like it's so brutal, but like no one cares.
Yeah, no
one cares.
There's no cavalry coming.
Yeah, no, and it's not like a personal thing. It's not like, like, dude, fuck you. It's just, no, literally, everybody is just worried about the burden that is on their shoulders, you know? And so it's like, well, that we
like shit.
Fucking clock in. We got shit to do.
But no, literally clock in, baby. We all got to deal with the burden. Yeah, I saw a meme, and it was like, man, I forget that all these cars on this highway, everybody has lives inside of these things. It's like, dude. Oh my God.
Yes,
that's insane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is overwhelming.
It is a little bit.
I mean, and that's like, to bring it full circle, like that's one of the things that I love about music is like, we're in this unique, like whether you're making a mix, you're fucking chopping up some beats, whatever it is, we have this unique ability to singularly do one thing that has the potential for a very broad umbrella. You know, like art is cool in that way.
Hell yeah.
You know, like, I mean, dog, if you build buildings, that is an art. And you touch a lot of people when you do that. You know, like if you are a chef and you feed people, that art touches a lot of people, you know?
Even like I've always said, like, I think anybody can be an artist at something. Like I've even said, like, you could be a trash man. You could be an artist at it.
Oh,
like,
10,000%.
Easy.
Yes.
And people take pride in that shit too.
Yeah.
Like, and they should. I mean, like, that to be able to do that at that level, it takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline.
1,000%. Yeah. Natalie used to be an art teacher in Vienna at an international school, and her whole philosophy, as far as I understand it, maybe if she was here, she would, take the mic and. Yeah. No, I'm
actually,
she's not like that at all. She would never do this podcast. She don't want to be on no camera, bro. Ain't gonna happen. But like, she would say that she believes everyone is creative, and I think like, yeah, like the way this world was made, you can find art and creativity in anything. Like you can be the best fucking janitor on the planet and find pride and joy in that, So I don't know. I love
every human's a conduit for creativity. You just got to find the way to nurture it.
Yeah.
And it's the specific way because we're all different, and like, we might all be adjacent to certain things, right. But with this specific this person, you need to find, what really makes them tick and kind of make them go.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with that, like 10,000%. Yeah. So someone who lived here, moved away, lived here again, what's like, how old are you again? Forgive me.
I'm 30.
Okay, yeah.
Just turned 30.
So, dude, you ain't no young blood.
Just turned 30. No,
you've been 30 for
30 for
11 and a half months. There you go.
Months, right there, baby. 11 and 3/4.
So, like when you meet someone who's new to town or whatever, right? They're this baby face, like, I'm going to make it in music. Like, what's advice that you give them?
We get a lot of that here. We had, he didn't give me a name, but there was a gentleman who called in who ran away from his Amish compound, and he was like, I want to write songs in Nashville, and I don't have any music. Like, I don't know how to put music to it. I have words written down and blah, 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 and whatever. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, I think the first thing you need to do is meet people. Like, you need to find a way to meet somebody. Because people want to put networking on the word networking on a pedestal when really it's just talking. It's this. Yeah. You need to be able to talk to somebody.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I told him, I was like, look, go to a writer's round, go to some really, really easy thing that, you could go to. Probably out east, a little somewhere, just something that's like a little more accepting. And you might even just start, just saying hi to somebody. And what do you do? Or if somebody plays guitar well, or like you think somebody has a really pretty voice, just tell them like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. Like, I'm brand new on this, trying to figure it out. I always tell people, like, don't jump in trying to make shit happen for yourself. Like,
that's good advice.
Just jump in trying to jump in.
That's really good
dude,
advice.
I mean, like, because I've certainly been a proponent of that.
Oh, yeah,
like,
same.
I think we kind of like talking about it's like, we're all on our own burden.
Yes.
Doing things.
Yes.
And then I told him, I was just like, and if somebody's rude to you, like, don't take it personally. Like, just I think that's something I'm trying to learn more of, is just like not taking shit personally. I think
that's hard.
Oh, dude, it's terrible.
Really
like
hard.
Last 3 months has been, me trying to like be like, okay, I'm finally getting it, and just like, just letting shit drop, which is nice. But then there's certain times where it's like, this motherfucker's trying me. I was like, I know. Basically, I've had shit happen here where like,
still the same person, huh?
Like, bro, you're still an asshole. Like, what's your name again? Like, I know we met 8 times. I need your name though. It's going back to being a good person. I mean, like, I just think it's like, if you're like, we see all of the ugly things that happen in any sort of creation, just because that's kind of what our society pushes towards, is like, it's cool to see all of the stuff on whatever timelines or whatever, but I feel like you'll hear like oh, Spotify is developing the mega war AI or whatever type of stuff like that, and it's like,
don't get me going. Spotify.
I don't have a DS. I don't subscribe to a DSP. Like, I'm SoundCloud exclusive. Dude. Like SoundCloud and YouTube exclusive.
Wait. But isn't SoundCloud, like, there was some shit with SoundCloud, bro. Let's not tangent that one.
You know what? I need to go do my research.
Well, you know what's funny though?
I need to go log in and do my research.
Yeah, kind of sidebar, fuck SoundCloud, but also, in all fairness, no one's hands are clean, and I fully understand.
Yeah, that's
right.
True. I mean, that's
any massive company is not absolved of their sins, right? Like, no one is operating on billions of dollars because they didn't do something
that's what I told
not cool along the way.
I told Vibe last time I was here, I was like, actually, I feel like every billion-dollar corporation is doing something evil at the end of the day.
I mean, so we were playing Arc Raiders. Have you played that?
I haven't played it, but I've seen it.
All right, so me and some homies, shout out to the COD Squad. We're now the Arc Raiders Squad.
The Arc Gang.
yeah, Arc Gang, yeah. It's kind of awesome. But yeah, we've been playing Arc Raiders, and we had a conversation literally last night about that. And like, I was just like, I'm so fed up with, and I have artists. My band is on Spotify, right? I understand it. I understand this like really horrific juxtaposition and the apparent duality of saying fuck Spotify, but my music's on there, right? Like, this is a hard thing to wrestle with, right? I get particularly annoyed at this time of year because everyone's reposting their like Spotify Wrapped or whatever. If you're a user and you're not a creator, like an actual artist, because I'm not going to say content creator because that's a whole other conversation. But if you're an artist and you're promoting your Spotify Wrapped, I will always wrestle with that. And I don't want to sound condescending. I don't want to sound demeaning. The message isn't like a hurtful or cold one, and it's not I'm better than anyone, because I'm not. But I just have such a hard time seeing friends that I love and artists that I work with celebrate a company that is spending money to steal from them. Like Spotify uses money to stay in litigation so that they do not have to pay out more money. Fact check me. Tell me I'm wrong, you know? And it's like, well, my friends are like, yeah, well, you know, nobody's hands are clean. I'm like, dude, you're right. You're right. But at least Apple pays almost double, and it's $1 less a month. So for less money out of my fucking pocket, you can make more. I feel like that's like when Taco Bell sold a taco for 59 cents. Who doesn't want that? You know? Taco Bell sounds good now.
Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. If you're an artist, don't you want to make more money? Like, don't you want to be able to live off of your art? I mean, Mozart wasn't that long ago when artists were commissioned. You know, like, I mean, we could still be doing that, but we allow these companies to buy us off, because when artists promote that, it teaches, without saying, users and people who don't understand the industry that, oh, hey, the Spotify thing's cool, and they don't think anything's wrong. And we should be careful about what we teach. You know, we should take ownership. You cannot fucking complain about how Spotify pays 0.00003 cents per stream, and then also be like, fuck yeah, 1 million streams, you know, like, it's hard. It's hard. You know, now if you never complain and you do that, well, good on you. You know, you're not complaining, like you're not whatever. But I feel so torn because I have artists that I love who are promoting their Spotify Wrapped, and I get it and I respect it. I understand it. But God, I wish we would stop giving Spotify gas.
I have a friend who she does front of house work. Like, she does tours, like front of house work for like a bunch of stuff. She plays in touring bands.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a common sentiment amongst musicians and band players. The same thing. It's like you're just giving them free promotion to make it seem like they got some cute colors and all this to, you know, make it like a community thing to rap and all that. And it's because on the other side of it, it's like, you know, here's your content for right now. Like, here's your engagement.
It's so unfair to them too, because like I can't fault an artist for being like, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because one, you should celebrate a victory. Yeah. Like, if last year you had 100K total streams and this year you have 250K, like, yeah, you should be able to celebrate that. And yes, I'm cheering for you. And yes, I am happy for you. It's like this really like messy gray area, you know? And that's why I'm like, I want to predicate it so much with like, this isn't like a judgmental position. It's just like,
and it's not black and white either.
It's gray.
The amount of
messy, gray, messy, ambiguous, like gray. Yeah, and I get that. You know, that like that's why I just kind of wish we'd all be like, you know what, everybody, let's just like fuck you, Spotify, like everybody.
It's well, also just the way the modern music industry is set up is just.
Man,
there's, you know, like that. We're gonna be. That's a completely different thing.
Yes, but it is.
I guess kind of in that space, in that kind of, you know, moving somewhere space, but moving to the other part. Yeah. With any Slow Shiv stuff coming up, are you gonna be doing like any of the like the Bandcamp pushing or like any of the?
Yeah. So that's been a really big conversation. Like I am learning to think pretty far ahead. And I mean, I think Slow Shiv's the fucking best band you've never heard of, you know, like, and I would like to change that, you know, like to have heard of. We have a second EP that's done. Artwork's done. Songs are done, mixed, mastered. And we're working with a publicist now who is DP's old publicist to help. We got to get pictures lined up. We have a friend that we're looking to do that with. Like, all this shit is in the work in the background. And I'm really intrigued by this kind of situation that we're in, because we have a less than a drip in the bucket of Instagram followers. I think we barely broke 1,000. But the interesting thing is I've met, or we know, every single one of those people. Not the case for most. And 1,000 people in a room is not a small room.
That is not.
You know?
No.
And so like the, you know, Shark Tank, like DTC, direct to consumer model, you know, like I kind of feel like again, like we're older, so I'm not really tied into like college culture, but I do feel like I've been noticing bands are starting to have this kind of resurgence, and dude, I fucking love like using a computer to make music, like, but I came from a band, and I'm in a band. And all the artists I'm fucking deep in the wormhole of like my synths and the computer, but also at the same time, like as an artist in a band, I feel like we're starting to see this thing kind of come back where because of all the AI stuff and everything, it's this cool opportunity where like if you're an artist, you have a chance to be very human and to connect with people in a very real way. And I'm really hoping that that is like the answer, like to that, like that as far as we see it, like I would love to get to a place where we could do either like a grouped dot, have you heard of them? So it's like group.me or something like that. Grouped. It's similar to Patreon. I think it functions a little bit better and the user has more control of like what's behind a paywall, what isn't, and their splits are better. But it's just not as big as Patreon. Yeah. But yeah, Patreon it's like almost like GoFundMe versus Kickstarter. Everyone knows what a Kickstarter was way before they knew what a GoFundMe was, right?
Real shit.
So this is kind of that thing where I think Grouped is going to be huge one day. Like the one of the guys, I mean, Tim Weber, Kayvon knows him, and he started that company, I think, with another friend or whatever. And like they really care about artists, and so like their model is very much like artist friendly. Like their split is really small. I think it's like 10%, like really, really low to host a mailing list, video, whatever. Like it does all the Patreon stuff, but it does the Twitch stream, the email list. It's all within one thing.
You got all that
it's
stuff
fucking sick.
That's weird.
But anyway, so like Grouped or Patreon, we had to fire up a Bandcamp, which is cool. So we're working on that as well. But yeah, like I really like, I want us to push really hard into that like connection with actual people, because I'm hoping that creates real longevity for us as a band. Because that's what I push for with any artist that I work with is like, I want you to have real fans. And I want your fans to support you. And now it's just putting my money where my mouth is and trying to build something that does that very thing, So, yeah, EP on the way. We're going to try to do the like real connection thing and see kind of how that pans out.
I mean, I think that's been my answer. Like with the whole AI thing.
Really?
Yeah, I've had this. There's a dude who works here with us. He works in the recording department. And he's an artist, an independent artist, and he's doing pretty well for himself, like numbers wise.
Awesome.
And we are just like, I think the answer to all of the AI slop is having credibility in your name and having like. And I hate it that it's like everybody's like, you need a personal brand or you need something brandable attached to you and now I'm starting to see it's like, because everything is going to be so easy to, just manipulate or change and all this. And like, something comes out that like something that like may not be Slow Shiv. It's like, they would never do this. Like, that's not what they would do. Like, that's something, that's got to be fake.
Yeah.
And then I also think too, with like the punk scene, metal scene specifically, that connection is probably the most valuable and like, or probably the most anti, this new wave of AI and all that. Yeah.
Well, that's always been like essentially the spirit of punk. What was like anti-mainstream.
Anti-establishment.
Really. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope like, and I hope this for every artist really, because I hate hearing about like 360 deals or artists who go on tour and come back in debt, or like you make a record and it ends up costing you more money because the label forces you to make a music video you couldn't pay for. And like, man, the industry can be so brutal, and it's like, again, like I actually like that I said Mozart, because like I kind of forgot about how like back in the day, like government leaders would commission artists to make art. Where is that now? Yeah. We can still do that. It's just instead of the fucking president doing it, I mean, it's going to be our peers. Yeah. It's going to be people we haven't met yet. And that does give me kind of like hope. We're the John Connor against the fucking T2, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, old boomer reference.
No, you're good.
Terminator 2.
I just saw the clip. I saw the clips on Twitter.
Let's
I'm watching
go.
it through clips.
But yeah.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, anything you want people to know?
Oh, anything I want people to know before we head out. Yeah. Hit me up on Instagram.
There you go.
I'd love to chat. It's at Brackish, BRCKSH.
I'll put a big vert right here. With
Brackish.
Yeah. Here, put the names in. Yeah.
You can check out stuff that I'm doing there. My band is called Slow Shiv.
Present. Yeah, there you go.
And I mean, yeah, there's a few artists that I work with that I absolutely love. I'll shout them out too. Why not? I just did some stuff with my buddy Lauren Spring, Trinity Wiseman. Somebody I feel like you fucking have to have on this podcast, my homie Dante Williamson. Do you know him yet?
Yeah, he's lined up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You got him on here?
No, we got him.
He's coming, right?
He DM'd. He was like, let's do it after the holiday.
Fuck
like,
yes,
we
dude.
yeah.
Me and Dante work like, and I've done some production for him or whatever, and he's different, bro. He's different. He's one of my favorite people on this planet, and he is so unbelievably creative. Like, if he doesn't pop off, there's nothing right in the world. He's dope, dude. He's dope. But anyways, yeah. So, and I don't know. This is always the part where I space out. I have no idea.
No.
But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
No, dude. Like I said, shitty day came down. I mean, made it.
This
easy.
is a great day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, there's beautiful sun out right now. Sun's shining.
Does the sun have to shine to have a great day? Not necessarily.
On that.
Likewise.
That's it.